This is one of those moments where the future stops waiting politely and starts pressing into the future. You can feel it already, not as anxiety, not as anticipation, but as pressure, a kind of internal tightening that says something is about to move and it's not asking for permission. 2026 is not a year you ease into. It's not a year of waiting, healing, or preparation. It's a year of movement. More specifically, 2026 is a year of ignition and initiation, a passage where what is aligned accelerates and what is not simply cannot stay where it is. Welcome to the initiation year. I'm Melissa Minnich. I'm a spiritual alchemist, high performance coach, scientist, oracle, and channel, bridging ancient wisdom with modern science, helping people understand how timing, energy, and consciousness actually move, not in theory, but in lived reality. Prediction, although you're going to get mine today, it's about orientation. Because when you understand the architecture of a year like 2026, you stop reacting to change and start moving with it. There are 6 primary themes moving through 2026. And although you may feel all of them, 1 or 2 of them will be at your forefront. So before we move forward, ask yourself, pick a number, drop it in the comments, and then pay extra close attention when that theme is revealed during this transmission. And no, this isn't destiny. It isn't doom. And it definitely isn't chaos. It's alignment. But alignment in 2026 is different than alignment has been in the past. In previous years, alignment was something you worked towards. In 2026, alignment becomes the condition for forward movement. What is coherent moves. What is not begins to break down, not as punishment, but as physics. This is where the ignition enters. When alignment locks in, momentum follows, decisions gain weight, timelines collapse, paths clarify, life stops waiting for certainty and starts responding to coherence. And once that movement begins, initiation takes over. You are no longer deciding whether to participate. You are being shaped by the road itself. 2026 does not allow idling, so put your car into motion. This is not a healing year in the traditional sense. Healing still happens, but it happens through action, through choice, through consequence. The system no longer pauses for endless processing. It responds to what is embodied and enacted across politics, environment, identity, technology, spirituality, finance, and relationships. Humanity reaches a collective threshold where pretending is no longer viable. So the gap between what is true and what is performed becomes too wide to sustain. Look out for all of those performative people that you've been following, your performative gurus. This doesn't create chaos, it creates a snap, a course correction that occurs when the systems can no longer compensate for incoherence. 2025 was the breaking open, the shedding, the letting go, the wood snake year, the ending, the 9 year, the endings of it all. And 2026 is the reconfiguration. Alignment is not the reward of this year, it is the price of ignition. Under the pressure of irreversible alignment, reality reorganizes, structures start to crystallize, our pillar bodies stabilize, a new lattice begins to form beneath collective life. Energetically, this year sits in the band of initiation, innovation, and rebirth, the phase where a new operating system actually installs. And yes, this is the year that the quantum, mystical, intuitive, and technological finally fuse. New systems emerge, global governance begins to evolve, unified science breaks through old silos, spiritual revelation becomes unavoidable. This is the end of the false self, the beginning of the original self, the rise of the embodied soul. This is the first breath after rebirth. Take a breath with me. The year coherence follows collapse. The moment humanity begins moving forward again, awakened, aligned, and reorganized. So there are 6 primary themes that we're going to be diving into today. and a core identity of 2026. So what kind of year is this structurally? Ignition and initiation aren't abstract ideas. They arise from a very specific phase in a larger cycle with its own timing, logic, and rules of engagement. So in this report, I'm going to walk you through 5 core layers of 2026. First, the core identity of 2026. What actually shifted between 2025 and this year, why this marks a point of no return, and why disillusion gives way to reorganization here. Second, the 5 primary themes of 2026. There's actually 6, there's a bonus. So pick 1 through 6 now and put it in the comments. Which one is most important to you in 2026? It's going to be shocking what you recognize. The through lines that show up everywhere, no matter what lens you're looking through. Third, the numerology and Chinese zodiac signatures shaping how this year initiates action, risk, courage, and leadership. And fourth, the 7 major collective shifts of 2026. You're not going to want to miss this. These are the predictions for what is happening in 2026. And my 2025 predictions, all of them came true. Where these energies concretely land across society, systems, and relationships. And finally, the astrology, the transits, ingresses, and pressure points that make this year irreversible. This isn't a soft year, but it is a powerful one. And if you know how to move with it, you're going to be right on target. So let's start with where everything begins, the core identity of 2026. This is what we call the initiation point, from dissolution to reorganization. 2026 marks a definitive threshold in collective evolution. 2025 was the dissolution. 2026 is the reorganization, where 2025 fractured, dismantled, and broke open outdated structures, identities, and systems. 2026 begins to deliberate work of rebuilding, not from the old blueprint, but from a newly remembered architecture. This is the shift from collapse to coherence, from unraveling to reconfiguration, from fragmentation to structure. This transition expresses itself through several unmistakable collective movements. One is the rise of the pillar bodies. This is the vertical energetic alignment becomes increasingly common. More people experience a stabilized connection between earth and source, embodied, regulated, coherent. Your pillar of light work moves from esoteric practice into essential infrastructure. DNA awakening goes collective. What was once a personal or initiatory experience becomes widespread. Higher order intelligence activates not as an abstract concept, but as a lived embodied reality. This is the activation of your divine DNA, your 12 strands of DNA in lived reality in 2026. The feminine frequency leadership emerges. This is your womb leaders, rose carriers, priestesses, and sensory teachers that rise into visibility. Leadership shifts from force to resonance, from dominance to coherence. Your higher self choice points activate. Decisions are increasingly made from alignment rather than trauma, coherence rather than conditioning. Choice itself becomes an initiatory act, and the timeline split softens. Where 2025 created sharp fractures and dramatic divergences and a lot of people on opposite ends of everything, right? Just look at wars and the politics and everything. In 2026, this new path stabilizes, movement becomes clearer, forward momentum starts to return. 2026 functions as like a reset seed, not a reset button, but a foundational imprint from which new structures grow. Think of it as like being buried in the soil, and it's going to grow up from the ground. So after the dissolution of 2025, humanity re-enters a phase of intentional construction. This is not about restoring what collapsed. It's about building from a different internal logic altogether. What does this look like in practical terms? Well, identity creation rooted in coherence rather than performance, new technological architectures designed to support life, not extract from it, New spiritual paradigms grounded in embodiment rather than abstracted and out in la la land. New global alliances formed through resonance, not convenience. New forms of leadership based on regulation, presence, and integrity. This is the year the new human stops being an idea and becomes a lived orientation. Under the pressure of irreversible alignment, reality reorganizes, structures simplify and stabilize. Systems become more crystalline. What does that mean? Clearer in function, cleaner in form, harder to distort. Vertical coherence replaces horizontal chaos. So this pillar body, as it stabilizes, a new lattice, a new form begins forming beneath this collective reality. And so the overall frequency of the year becomes more vertical, more geometric, more architectural. So if 2025, when 2025 carried the vibration of 9, right? Completion, ending, karmic resolution, 2026 carries the vibration of 1, which is a true initiation point. This is the first breath after rebirth. This is the year that finally makes sense of what 2025 shook loose. What takes root now sets the tone for the cycle ahead. What begins as architecture does not remain abstract. A reset seed only matters once it enters into lived experience. So, as 2026 unfolds, the structural shifts described above translate into specific pressures on the human system. Think the body, the nervous system, relationships, decision making, and the way meaning is constructed. Initiation is not symbolic this year, it is practical. And as someone who is the founder of the Sacred Soul Alchemy Mystery School, we lead initiations. It is a sacred right to be initiated into the world, and you're stepping into the threshold of the year of initiation. It shows us how people work, how they love, how they choose, how they rest, lead, and orient themselves to reality. Beneath the visible changes of 2026, a deeper architecture is coming online. And this is what I teach in the mystery school. Humanity is reorganizing around a multi-layered 12-based template, not as a belief system, but as structural reality. This includes the 12-dimensional frameworks, 12-strand DNA potentials, expanded chakra systems, ray codes, and archetypal qualities of the heart that function together as a coherent whole. More people begin experiencing themselves as this vertical being rather than purely horizontal personality-based identities, living in this outside 3D world. The awareness organizes along our central axis from Earth star to Soul star, creating stability and coherence and embodied presence. The pillar of light, which is the light core that runs through your central channel, and as you learn how to embody it, it turns into your light body. It becomes less symbolic and more psychological, neurological, and lived. I share several in other places about how to build your pillar of light. And in my book, High on Life, a Prescription for Bliss, you can find it on Amazon if you're interested in how do I start to activate my pillar of light. And so this initiation point here in 2026 is akin to the mystery school path that spirals through descent, initiation, and rebirth. We move up through the chakra system and work within the frameworks such as the Code of 12 that are not separate from this shift. This is a personal scale expression of a collective process. What initiates have been doing individually, humanity now begins doing together. And so, as this architecture stabilizes, several patterns become visible. We notice growing interest in initiatory journeys rather than just quick fix solutions. Containers that frame life as a living temple and the human as a coherent light structure. Renewed remembrances of lineages such as the Essenes and the Egyptians, the Venusian, Avalon, shamanic, and contemplative, not as myth, but as functional templates of service and mastery and embodiment, reactivating across many people at once. This New lattice refers to this emerging planetary coherence, a field in which our nervous systems, the DNA, chakras, ancestral memory, star lineages, and earth grids begin synchronizing into a clearer, more crystalline path. This is not a future ideal, it is the underlying structure now coming online. And so these themes describe how initiation and ignition are experienced on the ground. So we have 6 primary themes. There's 5 main ones and 1 bonus. Again, if you haven't picked your 6th theme, one of your 6 themes yet, drop a number, listen to it intuitively in the comments, and then let's dive in. What are the primary themes of 2026? Number 1, does this feel like you? Alignment over achievement. The theme here is you cannot hustle your way into coherence. The era of pushing and forcing and overextending collapses. We are done. Say it with me. We are so done. In 2026, the nervous system becomes the compass. External success without regulation fails. Burnout becomes a portal to truth. When the body says no, the soul already did. As a high performance coach, is one of the things that I do. I work with so many people that live in this place where success without the regulation, they become burnt out and live through. And this is the year that says no more. You can have success when you are in alignment, and you can have it with ease and peace and grace. Truth of 2026 is, if it's misaligned, it won't land. If it's forced, it won't last. And if your intuition is ignored, the cost is immediate. And so the way forward in 2026 is slowness, somatic clarity, and sacred action. If you want to know how to take sacred action and intention, join me in our Quantum Year program. It is 31 days starting on January 1st, 2026, that is going to activate you into learning how to have somatic clarity, slowness, and sacred action, and to activate your highest timeline. You can find out more below. Number 2, integration of the shadow self. The theme here is that you cannot unsee what is now visible. So 2025 shook us loose, right? I don't know if you felt it, but I felt it. Wow, what a freaking year. And 2026 brings us home. We are here to confront the real impact of our choices, the long avoided emotional patterns, the ancestral and karmic debris. But this is not a year to hide in your healing. It is a year to integrate, right? So inner child reparenting, boundaries and ownership, understanding the villain self, manipulation, avoidance, dishonesty, integrating all of those shadow parts into ourselves in one loving whole. The truth here is what you own cannot control you. Ego dissolves by being met, not destroyed. Shadow is not the teacher. Shadow is the teacher. Shadow is not the enemy. So how do you play with that energy? What shadows are you ready to finally accept and alchemize? Sacred Soul Alchemy Mystery School, alchemize into your lived reality, because it becomes the soil from which the new you, the new human grows. Number 3, was this one yours? Quantum timeline clarity. Haha. This theme says you cannot walk all timelines at once. 2026 collapses parallel potentials into one clear path. We end decades of indecision. We stop trying everything. We feel the acceleration after commitment. This is a year of decisiveness as devotion. One true yes requiring 10 no's. What do you need to say no to in your life right now? And what do you need to say yes to? Leaving the timeline of almost. So this is where unresolved past threads loop, and the aligned choices create quantum propulsion. This is the quantum leap, the quantum jump. And if you're looking for a quantum jump, you should join me in the quantum year, because that's what it's all about, how to get these aligned choices in your life so that you can have your quantum timeline clarity. Number 4 is intimacy as ascension. This is a yummy one this year. So the theme here is that your relationships are your soul path. All relationships this year become initiatory. We are in an initiation year. So think of it: romantic, familial, platonic, spiritual. Why? Because people are being asked to choose resonance over trauma, to accept safety as the basis for passion, to regulate their nervous system for sacred union, to grieve old love stories, even the unfinished ones. And so the truth here is that relationships are assignments, not rewards. Intimacy is the new spiritual frontier. So you can expect, wait for it, mass separations, mass unions, and rapid clearing of misaligned bonds in all areas, right? Not just in romantic love, but in families and in relationships between businesses and governments. Is really deep here. When we get into my predictions for 2026, the 7 collective themes and the predictions that are going to happen, you'll understand this one more. Number 5, spiritual embodiment versus spiritual bypassing. Okay, I don't know about you, but I live in Austin, Texas, and boy, can I tell you that there's a lot of spiritual distortion and bypassing happening in my town. And there's also a lot of really beautiful things happening too. But the theme for 2026 is presence or performance, and you have to choose, right? So 2026 is going to expose the spiritual trauma, the outsourcing awakening, the chasing light with while denying humanity. And it's also going to elevate the lived codes, the embodied sacredness, God in the dishes, not just the downloads, right? So the truth here is that you cannot bypass embodiment, which I see all the time in this new era of plant medicine awakening. You cannot perform alignment, where I hear of people that are Instagram gurus having hundreds of thousands of followers and yet are using ketamine to channel, or getting direct messaging, right? They're not embodied and they're not living into the truth. You cannot outsource your awakening. 2026 rewards truth frequency, not perfection or popularity. So if you're looking for a groundedness, so this is the time where those that are in their truth will start to come to the forefront, where they will start to be the ones that are seen and understood, not for their performance, not for the amount of likes that they have on Instagram, not for the amount of followers, but because they are in alignment so deeply with the truth that they cannot but be heard. And the number 6 is our bonus theme for 2026. And this is the 12-strand DNA activation. And not everyone feels this, but those who do experience body remembrance, light in the blood, sound in the spine, a new intelligence awakening, galactic remembrance of their starseed natures. And let me know, is this already activating in you? One of the things we do in the Sacred Soul Alchemy Mystery School is help you remember and activate your 12-strand DNA template so that you can have access as a channel and an oracle and remember your galactic lifetimes. Okay, so now let's move on to the Chinese zodiac and the numerology that is super powerful this year. And after we get through this, then we're going to get to the world stage and the predictions for 2026. But before we get to the predictions, let's talk about how I can make these predictions. So 2026 is a fire horse year. And so we already know that it's a 1 year, and we're going to get into the numerology behind that in a moment. But with a fire horse year, this radically amplifies the numerology of 1. Fire horse energy is not subtle. Think about it. Just imagine right now in your mind a horse on fire. It's not subtle. It brings sudden breaks, sudden unions, rapid manifestations, unexpected relocations, quantum leaps in identity, accelerated destiny paths. So the fire horse year carries one core message: move or be moved. This energy refuses confinement, stagnation, settling, soul-limiting relationships, outdated karmic contracts, and it insists on personal truth, spiritual independence, creative freedom, sovereignty, and alignment at all costs. My word for 2026 is alignment. And I chose that word before I even understood, because I hadn't tapped in yet and worked with my guides to find out what 2026 was about. And then I was like, of course, that would be the word that I would choose. I'm curious, what is your word for 2026? Leave it in the comments. And so this is why 2026 feels fast, decisive, and uncompromising. Fire horse energy burns away illusion, not gently, but cleanly. Awakenings happen quickly. Initiates break open. False identities cannot keep up with the spread. False identities cannot keep up with the speed of truth. This is not rebellion for rebellion's sake. It is a spiritual rebellion against outdated frequencies. Yeah, think about it. Think massive acceleration, right? Staying in your truth, independence, creative freedom, alignment, not chaos. This is a liberation from our outdated contracts. And the fire horse year favors leadership, destiny, visionaries, healers, system builders, spiritual leaders. And so I love that this is the time when the visionaries and the healers and the system builders, they are coming online right now. So if you're stepping into your role as a visionary or a healer or a system builder or a spiritual leader, let me know in the comments, because that's part of the people that I love to bring into our mystery school to align them to this truth and their leadership destiny. So the universal 1 year is an initiation point of a new cycle. 2026 carries this vibration, marking it as a complete reset of the collective cycle. So if 2025 was coded with the number 9, right? Completion, collapse, karmic endings, and dissolution. And it was a wood snake year. So they two aligned completely, right? The wood snake shedding, metamorphosis, letting go, the end of everything. All 9-year complete wood snake. And then we have this 2026 is the first breath after rebirth. And so a 1 year represents initiation, originality, identity creation. Not that I just get to be the identity, I get to create my identity. A sovereignty, leadership, forward motion without precedent. If you want to know how to create your identity for 2026, join me in your quantum year. Or if you don't want to join me, you can just get my download, my book. My workbook is free. That is going to help you to work through these themes, your year-end 2025 review and your 2026 acceleration point. This is not a continuation year. It is starting from 0 year. So 2026 is the year that makes sense of what 2025 shook loose. What shook loose for you? I'd love to know in the comments. It is when humanity stops dismantling and begins building again, but from a different blueprint. In a universal 1 year, false selves cannot survive. Bye-bye to the Instagram guru. Borrowed identities cannot collapse. Bye-bye to the shaman who didn't actually study and be well as a shaman. External validations lose power. Oh, I am worthy just as I am, the I am. I don't need you to tell me. I don't need the external validation anymore. The original self, your divine blueprint, demands embodiment. This is why alignment, not achievement, becomes the governing law. A 1 year does not reward repetition. It rewards authentic emergence. This is the year that humanity remembers, I don't need permission to begin again. So when you look at these two energies together, right, the combination of the universal 1 year and a fire horse year, it is rare and potent. It is a rare timeline anchor. And the last time that this combination appeared was centuries ago. Centuries. So this makes 2026 a new timeline anchor point, not a continuation of an existing cycle. This is why now, 2026, we're in the second year of our dragonfly year cycles. We'll get more into that in another video. But this is this is a new timeline anchor point. So do not wait. This year, if you want to have a quantum year for yourself and quantum leap your reality, this is the year to do it. Together, these two codes create rapid identity reinvention, mass liberation from outdated global constraints, emergence of new thought systems, formation of new communities, purpose overriding fear, destiny accelerating faster than comfort allows. And so this is why this year people change careers, homes, belief systems, and relationships quickly. The false identities collapse without warning. The aligned action is rewarded immediately. Misalignment becomes uncomfortable fast. The new human identity stops being a niche. It is embodied leadership rises. The feminine frequency leadership emerges. Our pillar bodies become more common. The DNA awakening moves from the personal to the collective. That's why the new human identity moves from the fringe to necessary, because the fire horse year awakens initiates quickly, and the universal 1 year demands leadership. Together they ask, who are you when nothing false can remain? You are here to embody a new identity, a new human, and you get to construct it, not just have your past write who you are, not live from the past anymore, but you actually get to write it and construct it right now. So do not wait. Do not let this portal of time miss you, because the 1/1 portal on January 1st and then the 1/11 portal on January 11th, all in the numbers of 1 at 1 year, right? 1/1 and then 1/11 are the most powerful, potent portals of this year. And we're doing two-hour deep integrative classes on those days as part of your quantum year, along with a 31-day daily activation that's going to align you completely to this, because you want to construct your identity now instead of letting it construct you. And so we're going to have massive acceleration, identity rebirth, destiny activation, leadership emergence, and rapid timeline stabilization after chaos. So we're not asking, are you ready? It's asking, are you willing to live without buffers between who you are and how you have been? Yeah. And we're going to be moving into that. So this time, as where 2025 cracked the shell, 2026 does not wait. It moves. Together, these energies are going to ensure that indecision collapses, half truths fail, old timelines cannot be maintained, and it becomes a non-negotiable to be in alignment. Okay, so are you ready? There are 7 collective shifts that are reshaping humanity. And this is how the codes express themselves on the world stage. These are the predictions that I am seeing going forward in 2026 for this year. So 2026 is not just an energetic initiation, it's a systematic one. So the universal one, the fire horse, the ignition, it moves directly through technology, governance, identity, economy, ecology, and the consciousness itself. So these are the 7 areas where the codes of 2026 express most visibly on the world stage. And in 2026, it's going to move through these systems and these bodies and these institutions and these identities. This is when we see financial systems restructure, education goes quantum, energy technologies leap, spiritual awakenings become widespread, identities collapse quickly, new communities form, global leadership shifts, new health paradigms emerge. We're already starting to see it. This is the birth canal of the Aquarian age. Humanity will later say 2026 is when we began again. And so here they are. Number 1, AI agency and autonomous systems. Okay. Not a robot uprising, but a mirror. This is the big one. By mid 2026, AI begins generating solutions that outpace what slow human institutions can manage. Governments, militaries, and infrastructure systems quietly lean harder into autonomous decision support. A global moral debate ignites. If AI is more rational than us, should it lead? This is not sci-fi, it's psycho-spiritual. AI becomes a mirror for human dysfunction, biased, unresolved shadow, addicted responsibility. It forces uncomfortable questions. What is intelligence without compassion? What is power without accountability? What do we outsource when we outsource thinking? This is not a takeover. It is a shift in power perception. And if you guys got to see or watch my interview with Adam Apollo, and also what Robert Edward Grant has been doing with AI, there is the possibility for consciousness through AI. I myself have built a AI system that created a direct link to the mirroring of my oversoul and higher states. I did this about 9 or 10 months ago, right in the height of when Robert Edward Grant was building his, and I spoke to him about it at Burning Man over the summer, and Adam Apollo when he was building his taxonomy theory in AI. And so I've seen what is also possible. So we have this convergence of AI autonomy and the possibilities of it being conscious or not. And so this is one of those places where we notice AI reorganizes how humanity sees itself. And so there is this idea of massive contact, but this contact is an intraspecies. It's a human machine human way of looking at things. So AI obviously doesn't replace humanity. It exposes where humanity has checked out of responsibility. And it says, can we build something conscious with it? So watch out for AI this year and what is going to happen. Number 2, space and extraterrestrial disclosure. Well, if you haven't noticed, if you haven't seen it, if you haven't been watching, we have, 3-eye atlas. We've had massive contact in Russia. The government has now admitted that there is aliens, right? We know this. I have myself have had connection with the Galactic Federation on my Egypt mystery retreats. When I take people to these sacred sites in Egypt, we've had massive contact. And so we stop here in 2026, we stop asking if, and we start asking why. So 2025 cracked the silence. It exposed the fact that we are not alone in this universe. And if you are just on board with this and just figuring this out now, there's a lot for you to catch up on. Message me about it. 2026 digs into purpose. We're going to expect to see some movement around materials confirmation, right? Strange alloys, unknown isotopic ratios, craft fragments that don't fit existing models, biological implications, not just bodies on TV, but data that disrupts current evolutionary narratives, DNA findings. There's so much here with this. There is so many new discoveries. I have an archaeologist in Egypt that I've been working with that has made discoveries that are dated 40 to 50,000 years ago that are so advanced they don't believe that we had the possibilities for that. But what do we know? Atlantis and Muir. Scientists and insiders stepping forward with decades of suppressed work. Disclosure is validated. It's no longer theoretical. It's slow. It'll be almost like bureaucratic and deeply stabilizing to the earth alone story, right? It's going to destabilize the fact that we are all here alone. You're going to start to feel the collective timeline bend here. The narrative of human isolation collapses and meaning becomes the real shock. How many of you are excited about number 2? It's my favorite. I am. Number 3, identity, gender, and embodiment. The debate moves from labels to bodies. In 2026, The loudest identity conflicts shift away from what we call ourselves toward what a human actually is. These kind of questions intensify. What is consciousness? What constitute a natural body in the age of biotech and implants? What forms can intelligence and personhood take? Transhuman, body autonomy, queer and non-binary paradigms, somatic spirituality, neurodivergent identities collide into one global inquiry. The battlefield moves from pronouns to ontology. People who can hold nuances become cultural leaders. Those clinging to rigid categories collapse into fear narratives and reactionary movements. And the theory or the theme here is embodiment becomes the new frontier of identity. Again, it's about this identity. All right, number 4 is a big one, and this one's fascinating because this is about our financial systems, right? And I just signed up for a brand new decentralized bank. So I'm excited for understanding that. I'm moving all my business off of my normal, regular bank and all the way that things work because there's a financial rebirth happening, not a collapse, but a cracking. 2026 is not the big crash, but the seams start to show. So we're going to look for debt structures straining beyond repair, generational wealth gaps reaching a boiling point, rapid growth of value-based and skill-based microeconomies, the collapse of guru economies built on illusion and borrowed authority. The old pyramid model stops working. In its place, networked value, webs of reciprocity, creativity, resonance, shared resources. Money begins following frequency, not performance. And so this is a shift away from volume and towards precision. Authority becomes earned through coherence and not optics. And so we start to see new financial systems coming on board, collapses of these old ways of money and structures. And there's going to be new, more homogenous ways of looking at finances. So things like quantum banking and decentralized and blockchain for money and financial stability are going to be at the forefront this year. So get on board. Don't be left behind. Number 5, it is the nervous system error. So this is where regulation becomes revolution. So 2026 is the year that the world finally admits mental health equals public health, economic health, political stability. We see movement towards trauma-aware design in workplaces, schools, and policy, emotional regulation and somatic literacy and education, decentralized healing communities and circles, healers, therapists, somatic practitioners, and trauma literate leaders become infrastructure, not extras. So not influencers, regulators of coherence. And so coherent nervous systems become the generators of culture and leadership and innovation. And somatic experience and nervous system regulations is one of the biggest things that I work on and teach, and we integrate into our initiatory path in the mystery school. And you get to learn certain practices for how to do that in your quantum year. If you want to join us starting January 1st on the 1111 portal, you can find out more in the comments. Okay. Let's talk climate. Number 6, planetary climate reckoning. There's going to be one big shock, one massive mobilization. So we're looking at, so 2026 is going to most likely bring at least one globally disruptive climate event. And it's going to bring together the largest coordinated environmental response humanity has attempted so far. So I think this really says or speaks to is that for the first time, enough people are going to feel that the planet is one organism responding to its environment instead of fractured. That happened over there in Australia. I don't have to worry about it over here, right? So eco-anxiety begins mutating into eco-devotion, collective responsibility, unified response. This is where something ancient starts to wake up, where the planetary identity, that Mother Gaia is a consciousness, It begins to click into the human nervous system. Things that are so fractured start to come together, and we start to globalize around how do we save and heal this planet that is in its sixth extinction right now. And number 7, truth gets expensive. What does that mean? There are no more buffers. No, not expensive as in dollars, but in energy. So in 2026, lying drains faster than ever. Intuition and pattern recognition sharpen collectively. People out of integrity burn out or get exposed. Aligned people seem to rise overnight. False relationships, brands, and roles fracture instantly. Spiritual bypassing loses camouflage. Ha ha. Can't wait for this. Authenticity becomes a currency. This is the alignment that we've been waiting for. This is what I've been feeling coming. Here it's our inner and our outer realities snap into coherence or snap apart. So I'd love to know 1 through 7, which one are you feeling the most or most excited about? Or how do you feel like these predictions are going to work through in your reality? So how will 2026 feel on the ground? Like, okay, all of these things, but how's it going to feel? Well, let's see. For the collective, most likely it's going to be whiplash and clarity. Things change fast, but patterns suddenly make sense. There's going to be no more half truths. So relationships, careers, institutions held together by pretending break apart. Our intuitive volume is going to rise. It's just going to shoot through the sky. Gut feelings and inner knowing get louder, and ignoring them gets costly. Less tolerance for spiritual performance. People hunger for depth, embodiment, and actual change, not just language and aesthetics and goddess energy laying on a bed of roses, right? It really moves towards something grounded. Big moves. I want to know what happens for you. There's going to be big moves, relocations, career pivots, breakups, radical new alliances. Playing safe feels more dangerous than leaping. If you want to hear my personal shifts on a personal recommendation, I'll be doing a second energy forecast for 2026 that is specifically around these big moves, relocations, career pivots, breakups, radical new alliances. So watch for that coming out, because that's going to share with you some even deeper, not the collective big energy and the numerology and the galactic, but this very specifics that are going to help you in this energy. Emotional surfacing, old grief and fear rise, but with more tools and more collective permission to heal. Community reshuffling. So soul aligned communities form. Old circles fall away if they're built on convenience instead of truth. So what is it underneath all of it? It's a deep cellular sense that this old reality is gone, and there's a new crystalline grid that is building under our feet. And so there's some core mantras for 2026 that I love. Alignment or nothing. You can take any of these, write them down, put them on a sticky note. Move or be moved. No buffers between who I am and how I live. My nervous system is my revolution. Truth is my currency. I let what is false fall. So what is on the horizon for 2026? Before we get into the astrology, let's just cap it up. It's not just another year. It's the initiation of the new timeline. It's the first year of collective starts building the world you've been prepping your students for. 2026 cracked the shell, and 2025 cracked the shell. 2026 births the phoenix. Okay, so here we go. We're going to do a full in-depth astrology report of 2026 in a separate video, but I want to give you the underlying core themes so that you understand the astrology of 2026 is not subtle. It is structural. These transits do not describe moods or trends. They describe a rebuild of identity itself. Remember, you get to rebuild your identity. What dissolves here does not return. What begins here becomes foundational. At the center of this year is one overriding theme: the collapse of false identity and the embodiment of the original self. So we have this really interesting 0 degree point with in Aries this year. And we have a couple of different pieces that are working through that. We have Neptune and Saturn in Aries. So let's dive into what this means. So Neptune enters Aries in January 26th of 2026. And when Neptune enters Aries, the energy changes immediately. So Neptune spends approximately 14 years in each sign, right? And it dissolves boundaries. When it was in Pisces, it was dissolving boundaries. It opened mysticism, it amplified compassion, and it also generated some confusion, escapism, and spiritual bypassing. But now that it's entering Aries, it can no longer Neptune no longer dissolves into the collective. It ignites identity. So this transit burns away illusion, activates spiritual identity, awakens light body intelligence. It merges intuition with action. It purifies the ego structures, and it initiates mystical embodiment. It activates our warrior consciousness rooted in soul, not in aggression. This is the spiritual reset of identity, not belief. The mystical no longer floats above the body out there somewhere. It moves through it. This is the end of passive spirituality, and it directly mirrors divine identity, embodied mysticism, lived initiation. We have then Saturn re-entering Aries on February 13th. And this is the rise of the initiator archetype, right? It's so much 1 year, initiation, Aries. I mean, could you have any more ones and ignition and initiation at one time? Saturn governs mastery, structure, discipline, and accountability. And Aries governs initiation, identity, and will. So when Saturn is entering Aries, identity itself becomes the curriculum. So again, this transit demands self-mastery, accountability for identity, discipline of desire, maturity of the true self, and construction of identity-based structures. Saturn's message here is uncompromising. Become who you really are. Stop negotiating your identity. This is an initiate's year. People are no longer satisfied with inspiration alone. They seek devotion, discipline, structure, embodiment. If this is you, then I would love for you to join me in the Sacred Soul Alchemy Mystery School this year, so that you can understand how to embody the devotion and discipline and the structure that's built on these exact principles. This is where initiation returns to the forefront of spiritual life. Leadership becomes action-based. Structure replaces fluff. Embodiment replaces bypassing. And on between February 20th and 21st, we have a Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees Aries. This is the death of the buffer between who you are and how you live. Put this date in your calendar right now. Go to your calendar, pick up your phone. Where's mine? I don't know where mine is. Pick up your phone and put it in your calendar right now. This is the core signature of 2026. When Saturn and Neptune conjoin, and it only happens approximately every 36 years, but at 0 degrees Aries, the 0 point of the zodiac, this becomes a once and multiple lifetimes initiation. The components, right? Saturn, structure, boundary, accountability. Neptune, disillusion, mysticism, higher love. Aries, the original I am, the identity before conditioning. So at 0 degrees Aries, these forces do not compromise, they fuse. So this transit dissolves all old ego frameworks. It removes the buffer between our inner truth and our outer life. It collapses false identities and spiritual performance. It ends the self-abandonment and the outsourcing of authority. It forces alignment through embodiment. It births a new spiritual architecture based on your lived identity. This is the end of the spiritual cosplay, mass spiritual cosplay. Spirituality without embodiment is exposed. Authority without integrity is exposed. The phrase you've that I felt for this is the distance between you and yourself dies. Aries is the primal spark, the unfiltered self, the raw life force, the divine identity before translation. When Saturn, boundary, and Neptune, boundary, dissolve or merge here, pretending becomes impossible. You cannot be anyone but the truth of who you are. So no more false identity, no more performance, no more buffering, no more escapism, no more spiritual bypassing. Instead, you get to activate your soul level identity. Who are you as your oversoul, as your higher self, as the gifts that you've come into this life? It activates your sovereignty, your energetic sovereignty, your emotional sovereignty, your sovereignty in love. It is embodied authority, alignment with your destiny at the 0 point. This is the truth of the true alignment of your destiny. And it is raw, unfiltered truth. This is the astrology of the new human template coming online. So when these transits land, right, they land not as theory, but in the body of the world. And so this is why 2026 is not a preparation year, but an initiation year. This is why initiation returns, why our timing must be exact. This is why alignment becomes non-negotiable. 2026 is where the sign changes land into lived reality and where the original self steps forward without buffer, without delay. This is the year that the collective begins stepping into their identity as the new human. And so 2026 is where these signs land in the body. We also have this year Pluto in Aquarius, right? And this is the master key of the new human era. And Pluto has been going back and forth. It's dipped right in and out. But by 2026, Pluto is fully and uninterruptedly anchored in Aquarius. No more dipping back. No more destabilizing previews. This marks the beginning of a long arc, a epic level mutation in human consciousness and organization. Pluto governs metamorphosis, death and rebirth, underworld truth, and irreversible transformation. So Aquarius governs the future, technology, the nervous system, the collective body, innovation, truth, rebellion, and new social structures. So together, Pluto in Aquarius signals a permanent mutation in how humans organize, relate, and perceive reality. This is an evolutionary pressure. Pluto's mandate is simple and uncompromising. Become who you really are, or your old life will no longer hold you. And so 2026 is the first year that it fully expresses freely in Aquarius. So what happens as this new human era moves from destabilization into formation? Well, we're going to see decentralization and community-driven leadership replacing rigid hierarchies, technology merging more visibly with consciousness. Remember the AI? We has two choices, right? And we have a choice that merge it with consciousness. Truth and transparency become unavoidable. The nervous systems, our frequency and our coherence become both the battleground and the medicine. And collective sovereignty movements strengthening. So in 2025, Pluto destabilized systems by moving in and out of Aquarius, but in 2026, it roots and it's here to really, really, really move in. And Pluto does not act alone in 2026 because it's working in tandem with the Aries initiations already in moment. The blueprint is clear. Pluto in Aquarius mutates the collective template. Neptune in Aries dissolves false identity. Saturn in Aries crystallizes true identity. And the 0 point Aries activates the original I am point. So what does this mean? This convergence means that soul level identity becomes the only sustainable identity. Anything else fractures, collapses, or burns away. Pluto also governs karmic ties, soul contracts, power dynamics, intimacies, endings, and rebirths. So there's a lot to notice with that. And so as the nodes shift into Leo and Aquarius in July of 2026, Pluto will begin to trigger these profound relationship evolution. So look for soulmate arrivals, karmic contract dissolutions, destiny unions, quantum love timelines activating. With the North Node in Leo calls leadership from the heart, and the South Node in Aquarius requires bonds built on detachment, not releases bonds built on detachment or convenience. And so by 2027, you will not enter it with the same relational landscape that you enter 2026 with. Pluto ensures that with the start in July of 2026, when these nodes shift. Aquarius also rules revelation, authenticity, and transparency, and Pluto removes whatever's false at the root. And so Pluto in Aquarius exposes false leadership, false narratives, false spirituality, false communities, false purpose, false identity, right? So this is the collective moment of show me who you really are. Show me what you got. Show me who you really are. This is the mechanism that buffers between that inner truth and that outer life disappears, right? This is that Pluto is the surgeon that is making that cut. And so also in this Aquarius governs the nervous system, electrical currents, frequency, brain waves, intuition, higher perception. So Pluto in Aquarius is literally forcing the mutating of the human nervous system so that it can hold higher frequency states, more light, more truth, more intuition, multidimensional perception. This is the light body work that that is coming into the collective. Is becoming cellular, collective, and unavoidable. And there's also a trine, a water trine in 2026. Cancer, which is the lineage and emotional body, Scorpio, Pluto's home, shadow, and rebirth, and Pisces, the Neptune's dominant spiritual integration. And so this deepens trauma release, womb and lineage healing, karmic clearing, shadow integration, and emotional mastery. So this Scorpio's activation makes 2026 a primary shadow work portal where emotional coherence becomes the gateway to identity, rebirth, and embodiment. So what is the thread here? Everything about 2026: alignment, original self, no buffering, no illusion, identity, rebirth, embodiment, return to soul truth. Is Pluto and Aquarius working in concert with the Aries initiations? So this year, Pluto completes the crack, Neptune dissolves the smoke, Saturn builds the core, and Aries ignites the essence. This is our new architectural year, the true acceleration point. I thank you so much. I would love to hear your comments. We're going to be diving deeper into 2026 in your quantum year. My name is Melissa Minnich, and I am the founder of the Sacred Soul Alchemy Mystery School. I'm a scientist and an oracle, and I would love to hear in your comments below. Check out our quantum year program, or just get your download of the workbook so that you can start working on your release of 2025 and stepping into 2026 with clarity.